Hare Krishna, I welcome everyone to Bhakti Sangha Jepa conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Shukmar Gaurav Prabhuji to enlighten us on topic Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto 25th chapter 30, 32 verse. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much Prabhuji for joining and giving your valuable time and association this morning. Please take over the call Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Can you all hear me, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you and see you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So let's start the class. First, I'll read the shloka, then we'll do the invocation prayers. Today, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, text number 32. Narada Itam Ranjanam Nari Yachamanam Adhirvat Abhyanandat Veera Asanti Veera Mohita. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Narada continued, My dear king, when Puran became so attracted and impatient to touch the girl and enjoy her, the girl also became attracted by his words and accepted his request by smiling. By this time, she was certainly attracted by the king. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. By this incident, we can understand that when a man is aggressive and begins to woo a woman, the woman becomes attracted to the man. This process is described in Bhagavatam 5.5.8 as Pumsas Triya Mithuni Bhavametam. This attraction is enacted on the platform of sexual life. Thus, the sex impulse is the platform of material engagement. This conditioned life, the platform of material sense enjoyment, is the cause of forgetfulness of spiritual life. In this way, a living entity's original Krishna consciousness becomes covered or converted into material consciousness. Thus, one engages in business of sense gratification. Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitanani, Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravadi Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, we welcome all the devotees to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. I'm grateful to all of you for allowing me to make a presentation on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4. I'm grateful to Her Grace Shama Gauri Mataji. She always takes care of all the brahmacharis in a very wonderful way. So I'm grateful to all of you. Thank you so much. So let's move on to the verse. So this is a very prominent chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto. Here Narad Muni is saying, Ittam Puranjanam Nari Yachamanam Adhirvata. He's saying that Puranjan, when he sees that beautiful lady, Yachamanam, he is pleading her. And how he is pleading, in what is the mood? Adhirvata. He has become very adhira. He has lost his patience. Abhyanandat Tam Viram. So the king is addressed here as Veera. Veera means a heroic person, a brave person. Hasanti Veera Mohita. And when he approaches her in a pleasing way, the lady also Hasanti. She also smiles. And Veera Mohita, she is also attracted by the Veera, the King Puranjan. Now this chapter starts with when King Prachini Varishat was considering to retire from his royal duties. So he sent his sons to perform austerities in order to become a perfect king for the welfare of the citizens. So by serving, the king also becomes perfect and he also achieves the goal of his life. Now this king, King Prachini Varishat, has come in the dynasty of Dhruva Maharaj. And as we know that Dhruva Maharaj is a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. And this is where Narad Muni is amazed as to how some descendant of my disciple has been enamored by the karma kanda process rather than being attracted to the bhakti process. So when he sees the reality of King Prachini Parishad, he says, I will save him. So he's saying, now the point here is, why is Narad Muni saying this? He'll be saying this in the first shlokas of this chapter. Narad Muni is saying, I'll save him. He's feeling a deep feeling. He's having a deep feeling for the king, and that is why he wants to save. Now, why is Narad Muni feeling so much? Because the first shloka in this chapter, according to Narad Muni, the king cannot see what Narad Muni is being able to see. Second thing is, according to Narad Muni, the king is attached to something, according to Narad Muni, which is not very beneficial for him. But Narad Muni also sees the word used here is attached. Prabhupada uses the word attached for King Puranjan. Prabhupada is saying that he is highly attached to the process of Karma Kanda because he has certain opinion about the Karma Kanda process and he has some desired goals to achieve through that process. Now, when a person has something to offer to any individual, especially if you see in the business, if somebody has to sell something to individual, then the person always finds a connector. A connector is something which the person can relate to. That is a common point. Suppose if I have a charger which is not working, and if I put my charger aside and say this charger doesn't work well, then immediately to connect with me, somebody would say, yes, this charger, I also had the same problem. Immediately I'll be able to connect with the person that he is also going through the same problem. And that is where when Narad Muni finds a connector, that is the common purpose, then the king is able to connect. Or else if we don't find a connector and directly put forth our point, then the person before us will shut down and will not be able to understand or will not interest in what we are trying to say. So when Narad Muni finds a connector, what is the connector here? A common purpose. Narad Muni is trying to find a common purpose. You are also doing some activities. I am also doing some activities. So Narad Muni comes to a point by saying that what is the common purpose of doing any kind of activity? He is saying that the purpose is to find pleasure or to find enjoyment. And that is what Prabhupada says. The chief aim of life is to get rid of all miseries and enjoy happiness. This is what Narad Muni is putting forth. And as he's saying this, now the king has already, since he has found a connector, the mind of the king is ready to accept what Narad Muni is trying to say. And immediately, when he makes a very clear point that yes, the goal of life is to enjoy, the king feels highly connected. Oh, he also wants to enjoy life, and I am doing karma kanda because I also want to enjoy. So immediately he feels connected, and that is where Narad Muni gradually he says, what I feel is there is a better way to enjoy life. Now, if you see how come somebody would say like this, that the goal of life is to enjoy. Yes, indeed, it is the goal of life because the soul is filled with in Chaitanya Charitamrita, amongst the 25 qualities of Srimati Radharani, which Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions, one quality he says about Radharani is she is a person who enjoys life to the fullest. That is one quality that he brings up there. So yes, as a devotee also we have to enjoy life. Otherwise, there is no rasa here. How will we when Narad is bringing this point that yes, the goal of life is to enjoy, but then he's saying that what I feel is the process which you have accepted is not sufficient because the result of you will accrue by doing this process is it will be not completely filled with enjoyment, but there will be suffering sometimes and there will be enjoyment sometimes, and both will be temporary. And he is driving a point that let's try something where you will get continuous happiness. There will be no end to that happiness. And when the king's saying that, oh, there is a way better way that I can be happy always, then the king agrees See, this is how connector works. Now the king is agreeing. Otherwise, the king was so highly engrossed in sense enjoyment. How is it possible that he can relate to a sage who has totally given up material sense enjoyment? Then the king agrees. Now, why does the king agree with what Narad Muni is saying? Karma apa viddhati. He's saying means my intelligence is completely bewildered by this path of karma. This is what King Prachini Parishad is saying. He is indirectly saying to Narad Muni that, my dear Narad Muni, I am frustrated by this karma kind of process, and hence I am inquiring, is there any better way by which I can get some enjoyment, better quality enjoyment? Because yes, I agree, there is sometimes enjoyment, there is sometimes suffering. But since I had no option, nobody has told me yet that there is a better process, I am attached to it because it is like a security. Why is a person attached to something? Because he feels secure in the presence. Just like in case of Dhruva, Dhruva was attached to the lap of his father exclusively because it was a great shelter for him. So similarly, this karma kind of process was giving shelter because he was at least experiencing something. And this is where the role of a preacher comes, that he should not immediately take away the things to which the person is attached to while he's practicing some kind of spirituality. Just like he may be attached to demigod worship, maybe bona fide, maybe may not be bona fide, but at least he has some shelter, feeling of shelter. If we take away that shelter, then he will never be able to relate to devotional process. That is why when Dhruva leaves home, same thing Narad Muni does. He brings him to a platform where he can accept the process, keeping his attachment. He says, okay, you want a revenge against your stepmother, keep it as it is. Your process by which this will also be fulfilled and you will get something better also. Then he is happy. Okay, both things are done, then I am ready for the process. And now when king is ready to accept, he is expressing his mind. In the sixth shloka, he is saying, Gruheshu kuta dharmeshu putra dara dhanarthadi. Na param vindate mudam brahmayan samsara vartmasu. He is saying that yes, Narad Muni, it is true. Gruha kuta dharmeshu. It is very difficult. This family life, especially the Grahamedi life, where sense enjoyment is the central point, or the focus of their living. It is Kuta Dharma. And how it is, to whom it is related, Putra, Dara, Dhana, Artha, all these things. And what will happen when somebody gets attached to this Brahmayan Samsara Vartma? So he's saying there will be a repeated cycle of birth and death. Now, when Narad Muni is happy that he's revealing his mind, when he sees that he's revealing his mind, then to bring him from the Karmakanda process to something better, he has to make sure that he leaves this process. Because till the time he completely gives it up or he starts giving it up, he won't be able to take to a higher process. And that is why, to bring him out of that karma kanda process, to weaken his faith in the karma kanda process, he shows him the loopholes of the karma kanda process. And that is where, by his yogic potency, he shows him how the animal that you have killed in the sacrifice are waiting for a revenge. They are just waiting that when you will die, we will tear apart your body with the sharp horns. And when the king sees the live picture of what is waiting for him to come, then he is ready and he accepts. Now, yes, Narad Muni, I am ready. Please tell me what I should do. Now, still Narad Muni wants to make sure that he is not disturbing him, so that he is at ease and he listens to what he wants to say. Because attachments are very deep rooted. They are like a sine wave. They'll keep coming, keep going, keep coming, keep going. So even after hearing this, it may happen that the king may feel, oh, this is a very bad process. But that attachment, since he's been doing for such a long time, is very deep. Narad Muni makes very sure that he is not taking any risk, because he has to get this person anyhow out of this whole thing, karma kanda process. Now Narad Muni starts by telling him a story about a successful materialist. Now, Prabhupada makes the point that why he told about a successful materialist, because a materialist will always like to hear story about a successful materialist. He will not like to hear about a successful spiritualist because he feels insecure. He feels that I may have to leave all this to which I am attached. Then Narad Muni starts telling him the story. In short, he tries to tell him about the story of a Puranjan, King Puranjan. Puram Adhika Jan, one who stays in a Pura or a township, is called as Puranjan. Now, actually, he will reveal this at the end that the story is all about you. Now, Narad Muni starts telling him that who creates this body, who creates this Pura. He says, by the action of an individual, this body is created. Now he says it is ancient, it is very old history. When this started, it is a very old history because it started before you entered the womb of a mother. That is what Narad Muni is trying to tell you. Now he'll come to the insights of the story. He says, Asit Puranjano Nama Raja Rajan Brihashrava. He's saying that Puranjan is this. Now this Prabhupada, with every point of the allegory, that is the story, King is being told to King Puranjan by Narad Muni, he will make a point out of it. So Puranjan is the Jiva. Because this Jiva, he exists. Rajan Brahashrava is using. So he exists in the kingdom. That is why he is called as Raja. He is the king of that place. And along with him, there are so many other elements that are accompanying him. That is why he is called as Rajan. Rajan is one with whom other elements accompany. Now, he's saying that this Puranjan, who is compared to a Jiva, because he exists with other elements, is called Raja and Rajan. Now, why is called Brahashrava? Now, he is called Brahashrava, Brahat means very great. Now, why is the Jiva called great here? Because he has performed so many activities for getting enjoyment, and these activities are unlimited and are so variegated. That is why it's called a Brahashrava. Shrava also, Prabhupada is saying, means fame or hearing, because he's famous for being intent on hearing about activities that will produce happiness now and later. That is why it's called Shrava. See, every individual wants to hear something about an thing or a place or a person or an activity which will give him happiness now and later also. And that is why Brahat Shrava, he wants to hear about the activities which will give him happiness. And there is one more person who is there in his kingdom, is called as Vijnata Cheshtita. And who is this person? He is the Supreme Lord, who is the Paramatma, who is unknown to this Jiva. Why is called as Vijnata Cheshtita? Because the person, the friend of the Jiva, knows for sure that this entity is completely dependent on me by nature. If I am not here, he will not be able to enjoy anything. For example, just like in 7th chapter, Krishna says, Rasoham apsukaunte. Till the time there is presence of Paramatma in water, there can be no taste for the Jiva in water. If you are tasting some sweet, why is it tasting sweet? Just because there is the Paramatma feature inside it. Without Paramatma, none of the bodies can function, none of the senses can function. So, Vijnata Cheshtita means the friend is completely knowing that this Jiva is completely dependent on me for everything. Now, he has wandered through, this Jiva has wandered through various births in different forms, but he has not found happiness. Now, when Puranjan's story starts and he's trying to seek pleasure in so many different ways, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying he has gone into the species of pig, but still he has not found any satisfaction. And then finally he comes to a city which is at the bottom of the Himalayas, and there he finds that yes, this is one of the best places that he has come, the Navadwara, the place which is having 9 gates. And then he sees that city and he's absolutely mesmerized by that city. And from Shloka 14 to 19, the entire city is described. Then from 20 to 24, when Puranjan enters that city, he sees a beautiful woman whose name is Puranjani. Puranjani is the material intelligence of the Jiva. Yatrichaya Agatam. Just like when Puranjani entered, she arrived. How did she arrive when the king was there? Yadrichaya. She arrived on her own. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that initial relation of the Jiva with material intelligence arises without a cause. Till the time he has that intelligence how to enjoy, he will not be able to enjoy here. So how is that material intelligence given? It has come on its own accord according to the process. Then he says, when he describes the various bodily, when he sees Puranjani, then he'll start describing the various bodily limbs of how she looks and the different bodily parts, what is their representation. So here Prabhupada is saying the different bodily parts represent different things. So one thing they represent is Raga and Dvesha. So Raga and Dvesha, the two features of the body of this lady were that she was always looking young and her bodily features were equally bewildering. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Raga, attachment, and Dvesha, hatred, are always young in the mind of every conditioned soul. And also they are equally bewildering. Sometimes attachment is very bewildering, sometimes hatred is very bewildering. So these two features, Raga and Dvesh, are always young in a sadhaka and they are equally bewildering to a sadhaka. Raga and Dvesh are even seen in cultured people. And even in a spiritualist, anarthas, he feels this anartha of Raga and Dvesh, he feels that sometimes that disfigured. Sorry, not disfigured, that transfigured in bhakti means we try to use them by covering them. Just like just like in case of Daksha. Daksha was envious, but the starting he makes while he starts speaking about Lord Shiva, he says, I am not envious. This is transfiguration. He's trying to cover it. That is how Raga and Dvesh, they cover the intelligence of a living entity and they bewilder him. And then from 25 to 44, he narrates how Puranjan becomes attracted to her and how she becomes his queen. When he sees her, the first thing that happens, he loses his control. And that is why the word used is Rajan. He's a Raja. So Prabhupada in his purport, he writes that a Jiva has two options. One is becoming a material hero, or second, he has option of becoming a spiritual hero. Material hero means he is completely into sense enjoyment, and more he enjoys his senses, more he becomes popular. But Prabhupada says this is nothing but victimization of Maya. It is just like covering the real intelligence. That is what even Prachini Parishad says in the starting shloka. He says, my dear Narad Muni, my intelligence has been covered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord, and hence I am totally attached to this karma kanda process. So material hero is nothing but a victim of the illusory energy of Krishna. On the contrary, a spiritual hero, Prabhupada writes, a spiritual hero is nothing but a Goswami. When somebody actually conquers his senses, then he becomes a real hero in life. It's like I heard a story about King Alexander. When Alexander was about to start his journey to conquer the world, the most beautiful lady of his kingdom, she came, and at that time she said, and that is where Alexander, he becomes bewildered as to what to do. But with great perseverance, he says, maybe later, not now. And when he conquers the entire world and he comes back, but at the time he was in his last phase, some historians say so. So that same lady was there to receive him. And that is what he's saying, that see, if I would have accepted your proposal today, I wouldn't have become so great. So that is how this intelligence has to be kept very strong as to when and how to use it. So Puranjan became captivated by her form, and that is where he loses his intelligence. And in the 26th and the 27th shloka, he's asking her questions regarding her personal life. Who are you? Who are these bodyguards? Who is this snake? And who are all the servants? He's directly entering into her personal life. Why? To get information, so that if she is not married, then he can make a relationship with her. And in the 20th shloka, he says, are you Saraswati, are you Lakshmi, or are you Parvati? Then he says, all these three goddesses have a lotus in their hands, but you don't have a lotus. Where have you thrown your lotus? So he's actually referring, what is this lotus referring to? The intelligence. He's saying, throwing away the lotus is what? Throwing away the capacity to discern what is right and what is wrong. That is what exactly happens when we are deeply attracted to something. Our capacity to decide, that intelligence is covered so badly, we throw it away. That is what he's saying. Where have you thrown your lotus? Lotus is compared to what? The capacity to discern. The intelligence is compared to the lotus. He's saying that this is one analogy given by Vishwanath Chakravarti. He's saying, where have you thrown your lotus? Where have you thrown your capacity to understand what is right and wrong? And then he asked her, are you married? And if you're not, then I'm there. And in the 31st shloka, he says, please show me your face. Puranjan is so attracted. Now the face is compared here to avidya. And what is that avidya? He says, let me see your form. Why I want to see? Because all my senses are strongly desirous of enjoying that form. And then the shloka that where she shows her face, this 32nd shloka. Now the point is bringing back to the point where Narad Muni started all this. Why was Narad Muni doing all this for a king? Was so deeply enrooted in karma kanda process. Prabhupada says, why was he showing so much of compassion? Because Narad Muni had a past where he had experimented and experienced all this. Now, where had he done and experimented all this? He had done this in the body of Gandharva. We all know the story. I'll just repeat in short and try to connect it with the story of Puranjan. Now, Narad Muni's story, we know that he was born from the mind of Brahmaji. And initially, and mind is compared to the superior most organs. He was the one who had the superior intelligence. He was always singing the glories of Lord Narayan. And he used to roam here and there into different places and always keep on singing the glories of Lord. Now, Brahmaji one day called him and he told him that, see, Lord Vishnu has told me to expand the population of this world. So you stop this useless singing and wandering here and there, and you please help me in my service to Lord Vishnu. You become a Prajapati and increase the population. And Narad Muni flatly rejected. He said, no, I can't, because I am completely aware of the entanglement that follows a person when he enters into a family life. And on hearing this reply, Brahmaji became so angry that he cursed Narada. He said, you like to sing always? You better become a Gandharva for a Kalpa. And that is where he becomes the Gandharva named Upabarhana. So we all know that from that place, from Brahmaloka, he comes down to the Gandharva Loka and becomes a Gandharva named Upabarhana. Now this Gandharva Loka is a place which is filled with passion, strong passion to enjoy, because senses are highly capable of enjoying and there is plenty of facility for enjoying. This Gandharva, they have a specific sign of, they are able to sing very nicely. So this Upavaran was one of the topmost singers in the assembly, in that place. So now initially the desire for singing for Lord still there, but the environment is so passionate that it is getting gradually covered. Now what happened as he grew, his voice was very nice. So he learned all what was required for the pujas and different festivals, the different praises of Lord Vishnu, the Sahasranam, and so many other prayers. And he used to sing very beautifully. And what happened, that when he used to sing, all the apsaras used to gather around him to hear his singing. His singing was so beautiful that he attracted all the apsaras. So, to agitate the mind of a woman is through her ears. This is what Shastra says. When woman hears a beautiful voice, her mind becomes very passionate. So that is the word of caution given by Shastra. So this Upavaran, when he used to sing very nicely, so many apsaras used to gather around him, and gradually it happened that he got attracted and used to sing for them. So once what happened, there was a satsanga program that was organized for the glorification of Lord Vishnu. So he was one of the best singers. So Upavaran was called to sing the glories of Lord Vishnu. And all the demigods and different people of different planets, inhabitations were called. It was a big festival that was taking place. And in that assembly, so many other apsaras had also come. And when they heard him sing, initially he was deeply singing the glories of Lord Vishnu. But what happens if your mind is trained in something else? The apsaras were only had trained their minds in a way. When he used to sing, they used to become passionate. So what happened? Some apsaras, when they heard his beautiful voice, they started to dance and they started to display their beautiful forms. But what happened was, in this entire episode, now since Upavaran was singing about the Lord, for the Lord, his mind got diverted to the beautiful forms of this apsaras and their dancing, and he lost his intelligence seeing all this. And instead of singing for the Lord, he started singing some materialistic music which was not related to the Lord. He had totally lost his sense. He had lost sense of the place, the people who were attending the function, the purpose of the function. He had lost everything. His intelligence was totally covered. And that is where the Prajapati, who had called him for the function, he said, if you are so desirous of behaving like a Shudra, you better become a Shudra. And he cursed him to become a Shudra. Now, why Shudra? Simply because Narad Muni was displaying the signs and symptoms of a Shudra. Why? What did he display? He was not conscious of the surrounding. Just like we also see Puranjan, he forgot everything. Who is watching him? He is directly asking very intimate questions. He is observing the intimate parts of the features, of the bodily features of that woman. Absolutely unconscious of the surrounding. Second thing, he didn't responsibly. In such a august assembly, his behavior changed from singing the glories of the Lord. He started singing some Prabhupada writes cinema songs. His behavior was totally frivolous. He was not bothered of what this assembly is all about. Third thing, he lost his intelligence. When he saw the beautiful form of the apsaras dancing there, his intelligence got completely covered. His intelligence, was initially used for service of Lord Krishna, was now been displayed to give enjoyment to the apsaras, and he was also enjoying in the whole episode. And that is why when he was cursed to become a Shudra, he got shocked, and then he came to his senses that he'll have to become a Shudra and take birth. Now see, from Brahma Loka is coming to Gandharva Loka, from Gandharva Loka is coming to the earthly planets. Why? Only one thing is intelligence not supporting. So when he was cursed, he asked for a favor, and the Prajapati, he told him that, okay, you will now become Shudra, but in that life, you will get the association of great sadhus And you will also remember your past life and the mistakes that you have done. That is how Narad Muni is born to a Shudra mother who is serving in a Gurukul. And when he serves the Bhakti Vedantis, when he hears from them, then he is awakened to the reality. So the entire point for the story is that to know reality, we need association of Tattvadarshis. Here, King Prachini Bari is not able to see the reality, what will happen after I perform the Karma Kanda process, what is awaiting me, what is the level of enjoyment, what is the kind of enjoyment I'll be getting here. So Narad Muni, since he has gone through all the process, he says, Baba, I am Tattvadarshi, I have seen the truth. I have experienced both material enjoyment and spiritual enjoyment. So a Tattvadarshi, Prabhupada writes, a proper Tattvadarshi Guru is required. Without him, there is no success in life. Tattvadarshi is one who has seen the truth and who understands what is valuable and what is not valuable. Just like in India, here we have the story of King Bhartri. And he had a very beautiful queen. Her name was Pingala. So he was so attached to this Pingala that he couldn't live without her. And she was very beautiful, very beautiful. Every now and then he didn't used to go to court, or even if he could go there, he would just sit and think about Pingala, so much about Pingala. So one day what happened, Pingala said that I want to give up my life. He said, why? Because I'm afraid that I don't want to live after you leave. This is what Pingala is saying to the king, Bhartri. Now King Bhartri hears this and he says, okay, we'll speak about some other topic. Forget this death issue. And then King Bhartri, they speak, and then he leaves for hunting. And for quite some time, he's out there hunting. And then he realizes that, let me test the queen, how much she's attached to me. And he sends a messenger with a message to the queen, Pingala, that tell the queen that the king is dead. While he was hunting, he was attacked by a wild animal and he died. So the messenger comes and gives the message to Pingala, and as soon as she hears that the king is no more, immediately she gives her body. And the king, when he hears this, that his beloved has given up her life, Pingala was so beautiful. So he's crying there, crying, and he's not letting go of her body. With great perseverance, her body is taken to the crematorium. He goes to the crematorium, is crying. Sometimes he's lying here, sometimes he's lying there, falling, getting up, falling. Sometimes all the dirt's all over his body. And her body is dead. It is burnt now. But the king says, I am no more a king. I am not coming back because the most beloved person has gone. So I will not come back to the kingdom. I'll stay here in the crematorium. And he stays there for a long time. Now, since the kingdom has no king, Lord Dattatreya feels very compassionate. And there is where he sends Gorakshanath, one of the Navanaths in India. There are 9 Naths who come in the Rudra Sampradaya. So he sends one of the leading persons, Gorakshanath. And when he sees that this king Bhartri is sitting in the crematorium and crying, Pingala, Pingala, Pingala. So what this, see again the same picture. Now, Gorakshanath wants to connect to King Bhartri. Now what he does, he takes a very beautiful pot and he tells the potter, paint it so beautifully that it should be the only piece in the entire kingdom. So the potter does, and he gives it to Gorakshanath, who is a sadhu. And what he does, he fills water in that pot, and he enters the crematorium and he tries to enter in such a way that Bhartrihari sees him, but he is not able to see Bhartrihari. And when he enters, crossing Bhartrihari, he goes few steps ahead and knowingly he tries to make the pot slip, and the pot breaks. And this great sage Gorakshanath is crying, oh, my pot, oh my pot, oh my, so loudly that this king Bhartri comes out of his absorption from Pingla. And when he sees what has happened, the pot is broken, all water has scattered, and the pot is broken into small pieces. And this sadhu is crying for the pot. Oh, my pot. Oh, such a beautiful pot. Oh, I'll not get one more pot. Oh, this is the final pot. And he's showing a strong attachment to the pot. And seeing Gorakshanath, Bhartri, he starts laughing. After so many years, he's laughed now. He's laughing and laughing. So Gorakshanath says, why you are laughing? He asks him angrily, why you are laughing? He says, come on, you are such a great sadhu and you are crying for a pot. I am King Bhartri. I can give you n number of pots. You just tell me. Then Gorakshanath asks him, why you are crying? Why were you crying? He says, I was crying for Pingla. She says, who's Pingla? He says, oh, she was so beautiful. She was so this, she was so that, and this, and then glorifying left, right, center, Pingla, Pingla, Pingla. He said, oh, just for Pingla you are crying for so many years. He said, I can produce n number of Pinglas here. The king again starts laughing. How can you create? And just by his mystic power, this Gorakshanath created so many Pinglas before King Bhartri. And just seeing so many Pinglas standing before him is totally amazed at how can this person create so many. I was crying for one, he has created thousands. And immediately what Gorakshanath does is he takes away all the Pingla. And the king, he falls at his feet. He says, please bring them back. He says, see, just like this pot, it is broken, it is of no good use. Pingla is gone, the body is gone. Body is of no good use. That soul is important. And that is where King Bharti realizes, oh, I was crying for the body of Pingla, which is nothing but mixture of some elements. And then King Bhartri also goes on to become one of the Navana sages, the 9 top sages among the Sanatana Sampradaya. So the point is that Tattvadarshi can make you see the truth. Just like here Gorakshanath, he created so many Pinglas out of his own mystic power. But he brought him to the point that, my dear king, this body is not important, the soul is important. So similarly, Narad Muni is trying to make clear that this karma kanda process will not give you a long-term enjoyment. Bhakti yoga or devotional service to Lord Krishna will give you real happiness. Just like similarly, if we see the story of Narad Muni, when did he come to the actual conclusion? When he was in association of the Bhaktivedantas. He heard from the Bhaktivedantas. And what is the effect of hearing from these great souls? By hearing from the great souls, the object of our meditation changes. We are able to understand the reality and we are able to change the object of our meditation. Just like Bhartri king, he was meditating on the body, now he started meditating on the soul. What is the importance of soul? Who is the soul? Where has he come? This how it is when you heard from the Nath, this great sadhu, when you heard. Similarly, when he got the association of the Bhaktivedantis, by hearing from them, his object of meditation changed. And that is where starts a rapid progress in devotional service. And what did the other thing the Bhaktivedantis gave him? They gave him Param Drishta Anivartate. In their association, they gave him higher taste about hearing about Krishna. Most of the times, devotees ask this question. So, is regulated sense enjoyment bad? No, of course, regulation is given. But regulation is good. But regulation doesn't give us complete satisfaction. When a person who is sick, regulation is meant to bring him to the healthy state. But even healthy state, if you're giving him regulation, that will not give him satisfaction. So right now we are given this regulation so that we come to a healthy state and start enjoying on a different platform. So for complete satisfaction, just like we see in the case of Vyasadeva, he wrote so many literatures. He did so much of tapasya, this, that, but he was not satisfied. Why? Narad Muni says, Ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasiddhati. Yayatma suprasiddhati means, proper translate, complete satisfaction will only come when two things are there. Ahaituki apratihata. Material life, there is no ahaituki, it is only hetu. Me. Apratihata. I don't want anybody else to enjoy, only I. And that is why there is no suprasiddhati, there is no satisfaction in material life. It can't be, because it is a law of nature. It is law of nature. Till the time you start giving, that is why there is a saying in English, in giving you receive. Not in receiving you be happy. No, in giving you be happy. That is why material life is all about me. Just like, I heard a very beautiful example. When a child, just like when is a baby, a year and a half or maybe two, when he's sleeping, and when he wakes up after sleeping, if he doesn't see his parents, what is the first thing he does? He starts crying loudly. Now, what is the crying indicative of? The crying is indicative, where are my parents? I want them here right now. Why are they not here? His understanding about parents is, they are meant for me. Why has God given them to me? For my satisfaction. When I am awake, they should be here. When I need something, they should be here. Me. But when the child grows up, when he is mature enough, then he understands that, oh, my parents, after me, they have their own personal life also. So who is a mature child? When he starts assisting his parents in their personal life, then when he assists them in their personal life, their happiness gives him more happiness than the happiness which he was trying to achieve by giving personal enjoyment only to himself. He automatically feels happy. Seeing them happy, he automatically becomes happy. And similarly, the nature of the jiva, just like the shloka, initial shloka we took, the friend in the heart, he knows that this jiva is completely dependent on me. Till the time he connects with me and serves me, he will not be happy. Similarly, when in Krishna consciousness, we have to cultivate this habit. Now we have to come out of the frame of I, me, my health, my this, my sadhana. Why I am not happy? I am chanting from 15 years. I am doing so much of seva. I not happy. Why I am not happy? No, it is not about me anymore. Just like a mature child invests all his consciousness or his thinking energy in now thinking about his parents. And when he invests his thinking there, his miseries are now disappeared. It's not that they are not there. They are covered by the thought of somebody else. Just like in India, when we travel in buses, most of the time I see a mother who is carrying a child in her arms. Now, the child in the arms, what he has to do? He has to do nothing. He just has to stay there in the arms. Entire anxiety is taken by mother. But when that child grows up and his parent becomes older, when he takes care of his parents, why should I earn? For my parents. Why should I marry? For my parents. This, that, everything. Parents cover his anxieties and his sufferings. And that is how, seeing them happy, he becomes happy. I had a very nice story from His Holiness Sachinanda Maharaj. He was speaking about a story of a sadhaka. He goes to perform tapasya in Himalayas. So 6 years non-stop, he's performing tapasya. But after 6 years, he's feeling that there is no change. In my heart, all anarthas, everything is same. Then he feels, okay, let's wind up all this. Let's go back to the normal life. Finish all of the suffering. So as he's returning from the Himalayas, in one village, he sees that there is a person who's trying to, he has a stone and he has a silk thread. And he sees that he's trying to rub it. So he's asking, what are you doing? He says, I am trying to cut this stone by this silken thread. Then the man feels, oh my God, how long will it take? He may be able to cut or he will not be able to cut. And that is where he feels that no, I should keep on trying. And again he goes back, seeing that person persevering. And he goes back, again for 6 years he is performing his tapasya. Even after 6 years, he is feeling that, oh, nothing is happening, no change. Again he says, forget all this, let's go back to the normal life. 6 years he performed tapasya, coming back, and on the way he sees that there is a hole, a mouse hole, but somebody has forcefully or playing pranks has blocked that hole. And then he sees what the mouse is doing. With his teeth and his nails, is trying to powder gradually the stone. He says, my God, so such a big stone, it will take such a long time, but still he's trying, he's not giving up. So he goes back again. He goes back again. And when he goes back there, again 6 years is performing tapasya. 6 years gone, nothing happened. He says, forget all this, let me go back to my village. And he is coming back to his village, and as soon as he's about to enter his village, he sees a dog who has been badly bitten by some young boys from that village. And he's in great pain. Now here is the turn that comes in his life. He sees that dog, he feels so bad. My God, he's so badly bitten. Let me do something for him. And immediately he sees there is a pond of water. He rushes, takes a pot, brings water in it, and he gives it to the dog. The dog, being so thirsty and injured, he immediately drinks that water. And when he sees in his eyes, he could understand that he wants more. And when he goes back, rushes back, again gets one pot of water, and he feeds that water to the dog. And then the dog, he feels very happy. And immediately what happens, there is a transformation in the heart of this brahmachari or sadhu. He feels such a great joy. And he doesn't know where is this coming from. And immediately what happens, that dog turns into a sadhu. And he addresses this monk. He says, my dear selfish monk, till date you kept on thinking only about yourself. When will I be happy? When will my senses come under control? When will this happen? When I do so much of seva? When will Lord become happy? Or when will I get that goosebumps or tears from my eyes? But now you kept aside all your thinkings and you invested your thinking in helping somebody become happy. And by making somebody happy, you became happy yourself. Similarly, when the jiva starts assisting Radha and Krishna in their leela, he automatically becomes happy. He doesn't have to do anything. Only the thing is, he has to bring himself out of that I zone and put himself in the Radha Krishna zone and their periphery. And the best example is the Vraj Gopis, who left everything for the pleasure of Krishna. They say that Krishna, even after serving so much, you left us. We were your unpaid servants. Of course, Krishna paid them in spiritual terms. But at the dead end of night, just on a call, they're ready to leave everything and come. So that is the nature of a sadhaka. He has to forget his I and he has to bring in Krishna's world. When he does that, he automatically becomes happy. Also today we have a wonderful auspicious occasion. Today is the, just a minute, I'll just come move it. Hare Krishna. Today is the appearance day of Vrindavan Das Thakur. So I'll narrate something about him in next 10 minutes. So he was born in Mamgachi, and his father's name was Vaikuntanath, and mother was Mata Narayani. Lot is said about, not much is said about him, but whatever information I have heard from the seniors, I'll just repeat it. So his mother Narayani, according to Gaur Ganodesh Deepika, Narayani was in Krishna Lila. She was in spiritual world. Krishna has two nurses apart from Putana and all those others. There are so many other nurses also. So one nurse is Ambika. So this Ambika is nurse of Krishna who assists Mata Yashoda. So this Ambika has a younger sister whose name is Kilimbika. So this Kilimbika, in spiritual world, every day she gets the Mahaprasad of Krishna to eat. And that same Kilimbika has come here as Mother Narayani. And that Ambika, her elder sister, she became the wife, Malini Devi, wife of Shrivas Pandit in Lord Chaitanya's pastime. And initially we see that how Narayani was specially favored by Lord Chaitanya. When Narayani was just 4 months old, and what happened, there was a wide rumor spreading all over Navdeep that the king's soldier, Nawab's soldiers have banned everybody from doing kirtan or doing any puja. And all the devotees were afraid. And that is the time when Mahaprabhu comes at the in Srivasangam. And he could understand the mind of all the devotees that they are somewhere fearful. And Mahaprabhu, they starts loudly shouting, I am he, I am him, I am him. And it goes and sits on the throne of the deities. And still all are confused now what to do if the king comes. And there Mahaprabhu shouts that, do you know what I can do to the king and his soldiers and his elephants and horses? Just I'll tell them to chant Hare Krishna, take the names of Krishna, and they'll go mad in ecstasy. And they'll forget all this killing business. Still all the devotees were not very convinced as what to do in this situation. And there Mahaprabhu sees Narayani, who just 4 years old. He says, do you want to prove that just by my touch, they'll all be drowned in Krishna prem? Then Mahaprabhu calls Narayani, Narayani, come here. And he keeps his hand on Narayani's head and tells her, Narayani, chant Krishna's name. And Narayani starts chanting Krishna's name. And just by chanting Krishna's name, immediately different symptoms starts arising in her body. And she's showing all 8 ecstatic symptoms of love of God. Just a 4-year-old child she's showing. So that was the mercy that Lord Chaitanya had given to the mother of Vrindavan Das Thakur. And Mahaprabhu, when he used to eat betel nuts in his pre-sannyas Leela, so he used to give that chewed betel nut Mahaprasad to Narayani. In spiritual world also, she had the same seva, eating the Mahaprasad of Lord. Here, Lord Chaitanya personally used to give her. So after she grew up, then she shifted to Mamgachi, where she got married. But when Vrindavan Das Thakur was in the womb of his mother Narayani, that time his father passed away. So when his father passed away, Narayani came back from Mamgachi to Navadip, and she started residing in the house of Shrivas Pandit. And that is where Vrindavan Das Thakur, he grew up. And Mahaprabhu, so he has seen Mahaprabhu's Leela, Vrindavan Das Thakur. He has seen the Nimai Pandit Leela of Mahaprabhu. And that is where he gets the inspiration to write Chaitanya Bhagavat. At a very young age, it is said that he has written Chaitanya Bhagavat, which was initially named Chaitanya Mangal. But Lochan Das Thakur also wrote Chaitanya Mangal. He had given, so on saying, when Mother Narayani told him that already Lochan Das Thakur has given the name Chaitanya Mangal, you better rename your book as Chaitanya Bhagavat. And that is where he renames his book as Chaitanya Bhagavat. And he was so deeply mad love with Lord Nityananda. He has written Nityananda Ashtak, where he has described beautiful features and beautiful preaching strategies of Lord Nityananda, and so many other things he has described about Lord Nityananda. And when he was writing Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur, so what happened was, when he started describing about Lord Nityananda, he went so deep in describing about Lord Nityananda. After when Lord Chaitanya takes sannyas, after that, not much has been described in great details in his book, Chaitanya Bhagavat. And that is why Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he takes on that opportunity to not enter the pastimes which already had been written in great detail by Vrindavan Das Thakur. So he chose to write in great detail the pastimes which he had not written. So Vrindavan Das Thakur was the last disciple of Lord Nityananda. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita chapter 8, shloka number 36, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is writing this wonderful shloka. He's saying, Ore mood loka shuno Chaitanya Mangal, Chaitanya Mahima yate jani ve sakal. He says, oh foolish people, you should read Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangal. Chaitanya Mangal here is referring to Chaitanya Bhagavat. Just read Chaitanya Mangal, because by reading you can understand the glories of Lord Chaitanya. He's saying, Krishna Leela Bhagavat kahe Ved Vyas, Chaitanya Leela Vyas Vrindavana Das. Just like Vyas Muni wrote Srimad Bhagavatam, which is nothing but the narrations of Lord Krishna. Similarly, Vrindavan Das Thakur has written Chaitanya Bhagavat, which is nothing but exclusive description of the life of Lord Chaitanya. Then he's saying, Vrindavan Das Kaila Chaitanya Mangal, Ashravana Nashe Sarva Amangal. Just by hearing Chaitanya Mangal, all the amangal, the inauspiciousness in your life will be destroyed. Then he's saying, Chaitanya Nidar Yate Janiya Mahima, Yate Jani Krishna Sima. He says, by reading Chaitanya Mangal, one can understand the topmost truth of Lord Chaitanya. Nothing will remain hidden. The ultimate conclusions of devotional service will be open to anyone who reads Chaitanya Mangal. Then he is saying, Bhagavate Yatta Bhakti Siddhante Rasat Likhiyachen Iya Jani Karya Uddhar. He's saying in Chaitanya Mangal, which is Chaitanya Bhagavat, later it will be renamed. He's saying Sri Vrindavan Thakur has given conclusions about the devotional service, which is the same as, which is by quoting exclusive authoritative quotations from Srimad Bhagavatam. He's saying Chaitanya Mangala Shune Yadi Pashandi Yavan Maha Vaishnav Hoy Tatakshan. If somebody attentively hears this Chaitanya Bhagavat, he says he will immediately become a great devotee. Manushya Rachite Nare Aiche Grantha Dhanya Vrindavana Das Mukhe Vakta Shri Chaitanya. He's saying, now understand, here is a person who has already written a literature which is par excellence. Which is par excellence. If you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is par excellence. The quotations, the words, the phrases that Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami used, absolute mind-blowing. If you take some time and read at least few pages, you will come to an understanding that there is no greater leader than Chaitanya Charitamrita in this entire Krishna. That is why Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur used to say, if the world is bereft of all literature, there is no problem, but Chaitanya Charitamrita should stay back. That's the only criteria. Now here he has authored Chaitanya Charitamrita and he is glorifying other author. Just like in life of Lord Chaitanya, we see this past time. When his friend wrote a book on Vyakaran and he brought it, he was bringing it for Lord Chaitanya to see. At the same time, Lord Chaitanya told his friend that, oh, see, I have also written a book on Vyakaran. And immediately his friend hid his book. He said, what are you hiding? He says, I also wrote a book on Vyakaran. But now since you have written a book on Vyakaran, nobody will read my book. So I better drop this idea. So Mahaprabhu is saying, my God, you have also written a book. So he appreciates him. Mahaprabhu says, don't worry. I will make sure that your book becomes glorious on Vyakaran. And Mahaprabhu throws his book written on Vyakaran in the Ganges. So same Chaitanya Mangal is not written by Vrindavan Das Thakur. Then you may question who has this written. Vrindavan Das Mukhe Vakta Shri Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya dictated and personally dictated from within his heart, and Vrindavan Das Thakur has written this excellent, far excellence. He's glorifying left, right, center, Vrindavan Das Thakur. And what is he saying about Vrindavan Das Thakur? Is saying Vrindavan Pade Koti Namaskar, Aiche Grantha Kari Teho Tarila Samsar. He's saying, calling again and again Das Thakur, because he has written such a letter and deliver the entire creation. Narayani Chaitanya Uchishta Bhajan Tara Garve Janmila Shri Das Vrindavan. He's saying just because Mata Narayani every day used to get the remnants of Mahaprasad of Lord Chaitanya, she got such a pure soul, who was the incarnation of Ved Vyas, who had written initially Srimad Bhagavad. He's saying Tara ki Adbhuta Chaitanya Charita Varnan Yahara Shravana Chuddha Krila Tribhuvan. He's saying just by hearing this, the three worlds will become purified. That is the glorification is offering. But he's saying that why did Vrindavan Das Thakur not elaborate on the further details? Because his book had become too voluminous. And that is why he stopped writing, thinking that the readers will not read it because the book has become very voluminous. Shastra Kari Sabali ki Karila Grantha Pache Virya Tar Kaila Vivaran. He said that he first summarized all the pastimes and later he has vividly given them in detail. He says Varnite Grantha Haila Vistar. The book became so voluminous, that is why he stopped writing about the further glories of Lord Chaitanya. And that is where I am getting this opportunity, saying Vrindavana Dasa Pada Padma Kari Dhyan Tara Agya Lai Likya Yahat Kalyan. And upon receiving his order, tempted, named as Charita. So, Vrindavan Thakur book is saying, oh, don't read my book, but read Vrindavan Das Thakur's book. That is the greatness. Vrindavan Das Thakur has also written so many bhajans which are not very popular. But one statement which Vrindavan Das Thakur makes and which is very strong, which Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur used to always glorify. He say, Eta parihare je papi ninda kari, teho late mari tari shire upari. He's saying, if somebody offends Lord Nityananda or the devotees of Lord Nityananda, tabe late mari tari shire upari. He's saying, I'll kick on the head of that person. In Bhakti is Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he comments that I'm ready for that kick. I'm eager for that kick. Of a pure devotee of Lord, whether his chastisement or his glorification, is always beneficial for that jiva. Just like we see in the life of Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur also, what happened was once one of his sannyasi disciples, he wanted to go for a parikrama, and his authorities were not allowing him. So without telling anybody, he left for that parikrama. 2-3 months he came back, and when his Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur understood that he has come, he told his servant that don't allow him inside the mutt. So when the servant went and told him that you are not allowed to enter the mutt, this is the order of Guru Maharaj. So that sannyasi disciple became so angry. He said, I have served here for 15 years. How you are not allowing me? What about my service? This, that. Then his Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur says, if you want to enter the mutt, you will have to give up your sannyas and enter as a simple, humble brahmachari. Otherwise, you cannot enter the mutt. You can go anywhere where you want. And that is where that sannyasi was till the last moment when His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur left, he had to remain as a brahmachari. So the punishment, why was the punishment given? For the benefit of that sannyasi, so that the mood is inculcated. He was in a mood where I am a sannyasi, so I need respect, I need this, so I can do whatever. No, that is not the mood of Goloka Vrindavan. The mood of Goloka Vrindavan is, we are Rupa Anugas, we are followers of our Guru. We are followers of the disciples of our Guru. So that is the mood that we have to inculcate. And that is why there are two types of kripa, Sakapat kripa and Nishkapat kripa. If Guru is always glorifying you, that means that is a Sakapat kripa, because there is the desire for that name fame in our mind. That is why Guru is giving name fame only. Nishkapat kripa means direct chastisement, just like the sannyasi got. He said, you want to stay here, follow the rules, otherwise you can leave from here. Unexpected kripa, unexpected chastisement. But he accepted it, and that is why he could become a very wonderful devotee. So, this kripa, Sakapat and Nishkapat, we have to understand that it comes from the Guru. So that is why Vrindavan Thakur is saying, I'll kick, but that kick, how we have to take that kick? It is as a kripa. Because by that kripa we'll become purified, and then we'll be able to understand Krishna and the pastimes of Krishna. So later, Vrindavan Das Thakur also went with Lord Nityananda. He was at the age of 6, when he was 16 years, he was preaching. He took initiation from Lord Nityananda, and he was traveling with Lord Nityananda for a long time. When they came in Demur, district of Burdwan, Lord Nityananda told him, you stay here and preach. So there he established his deities of Gaur Nityananda, and he worshipped them as a lifelong brahmachari. He served this deity and preached. So Vrindavan Das Thakur was also present in the Gaur Purnima festival, which took place in Kheturi Gram, the first Gaur Purnima. And there he could personally see Lord Chaitanya dancing, because it was his great desire to see Lord Chaitanya dancing. And there he was accompanied by Janva Devi, who was the wife of Lord Nityananda. So he stayed with her also. He took a lot of learnings, and the rest of his life he stayed there in Burdwan, and from there he went back to Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the beautiful class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Is there anybody having any questions? Please go ahead and ask.
Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for the very nice class with a lot of relevant examples, analogies, and stories.
Hare Krishna. Yes, ma'am.
Especially the story of Pingala and Bhatrihari was. Thank you very much for this wonderful class, Prabhu. And also thanks for the summary, the initial summary that you gave of the different verses. It puts things in perspective. Thank you very much. Very grateful.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, if I'm not wrong, like whatever I've heard, our planet is called particularly Mrityuloka, and the other planets, whatever I have heard from the classes, that other planets are also not like the Gandharva Loka, and they are also temporary. So why particularly our planet is called Mrityuloka? If that question is valid, Prabhu. Thank you.
Mrityu is this feature of dying is there in all places, Mataji. Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino. Punaravartino will only happen when that person will leave his body. And from what point he may fall, or from what point he may have to leave his body, Brahmalok. Brahmalok to Abrahma Bhuvana Loka, till the planet which is at the bottommost point. From Brahmalok to Patalok, people have to go through this experience. They don't die. We don't die because the soul doesn't die. We have to go through the experience of dying. Only the time varies. In the upper and lower planetary system, the time frame is very large, and we have a very short time frame. That is why here we feel that death is coming very frequent because the time frame is very short. But death is a common feature in the 14 planetary systems, since it is related to the body. It is not the feature of the soul.
So even though they are also kind of a Mrityuloka, but ours is because so frequently it comes because we have such a short
Yes,
span
our
of life. So
lifespan is
yeah,
short.
yeah. Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, thank you
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much for the beautiful class, and thank you for explaining about Vrindavan Das Thakur on this day. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, I have a question about King Puranjan. You explained that Narad Muni decided to show his mercy, and you gave various reasons, and also his past experience and as a Gandhar, and that's why he was compassionate towards King Puranjan. So is it also true
Right,
that,
right.
Prabhuji, that Krishna decides to show his mercy because of the pious activities or the spirituality of their ancestors, or Krishna shows mercy completely, showing mercy completely is dependent on one's own karma? What is true, Prabhuji? Like, I just want to understand this. Thank you.
It can be both ways, Mataji. In case of Puranjan, Narad Muni had a special compassion because since he was in the lineage of his own disciple, so that compassion came out of love for Dhruva Maharaj. But if you see the gradual ladder, when a person has sufficient pious activities, then he is allowed and to come in contact with the bona fide devotee, and when that devotee bona fide guru will give him that bhakti lata, then his action will start, and he will water it by the hearing and chanting process, and that is how the bhakti lata goes to Golok Vrindavan, where it will fructify and give fruits. So it is both way. One is gradual and one is direct. That's the only difference.
Okay, thank you. So it is applicable in Kali Yuga also for all the souls, like.
Yes, Mataji, all time is that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Practicing sincerely, it is for sure that your parents will very soon or in coming times they'll get an opportunity to, or whoever relatives are connected to you, if your family is already a devotee, and if not, then others who are connected to you will also get that first class facility just because they are connected to you.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you so much for making it clear for me.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have one more doubt, Prabhuji. Like you said, for the first example you gave of like the sadhu who was working 6 years and again coming back, that story, he was working on him. So are we not supposed to work on our anarthas and only think for the preaching? I mean, how do we as a sadhaka, how do we apply it in our life, Prabhuji?
So he got the instruction up for 18 years. He did his sadhana sincerely. That means it is indicative that he was strong to handle the outside pullings. But what was blocking him was his self-oriented lifestyle. As soon as he removed himself, he was able to experience himself, and already because of that past years of sadhana, he would be able to give it to others also. But for giving initially, he had to experience it in. So what was blocking was that I. So as soon as he removed the I and decided to give to others. So here we have just example, we gave water. There Maharaj was saying that we have to start reaching also. If you are just thinking for I, me, my leadership, my chanting, my swadhyay, that is needed because that goes in the pen. But over a period of time, what will happen is you will not expect that same. Krishna will only give that taste, higher taste, when you preach. So that was the message in that story.
Okay, Prabhuji. So can I derive from what you said that, preaching is one of the counteracting of our anarthas, or it is one of the ways?
Preaching in itself is a very wide tool, Mataji. Preaching, when you give Krishna consciousness to others, initially when you, just as I told, that you have to connect. So initially connection, we have, people may chant, may not chant, but you keep them giving prasad, you keep organizing some small festivals at their places, and gradually they get connected. So preaching is a way to connect also. And when they start experiencing that happiness, they'll start getting connected more and more. And what happens is, over a period of time, when you start preaching, you have to do katha. So when you start doing katha, my person, you have to repeat the same katha. Damodar Leela, what difference will you make every year? But when we are forced particular katha and dive deeper into it from different perspective, that is our growth. Oh, this aspect also I can interpret. Oh, this is what I forgot in my devotion. This is the realization that I got in this time. So their growth is gradually strong connect. Your growth is strong, deep realization that you start getting. That is the two-way effect of preaching. And that is how a sadhaka sustains in the future years. After 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, it start feeling dry. That is for sure. Krishna will think. Even my personal experience, Krishna will test, and Krishna will make sure that we come out of our zones. That, okay, my sadhana, my this, my that. Krishna will force, but at the same time, Krishna will make sure that you are keeping your sadhana strong so that you will be in a good position to give, or else we will be affected by the outsiders. So that caution we have to take while preaching.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So that leads to me another doubt, that when we are doing this, and especially like for me, it's very initial stage and very initial years, like so many anarthas come out, and like till Krishna consciousness, I at least thought I'm a very nice person, and now I realize I'm not nice at all. And how to fight with that and continue our sadhana, just like how to keep myself calm and continue with the sadhana.
If you read Gita 2nd chapter and 3rd chapter, in one of the commentaries I read, very bold commentary they had written, that anarthas are none of our business now. If you are focusing too much on anarthas, then only anarthas will grow. Because Gayato Vishya Pumsa, that will happen. That's the series that is given. So what the example that I gave is, when you start thinking about others, that, oh, what if I have, suppose if I've started a new program, it's okay that I have my own set of anarthas. But if I take on to a new preaching program, and if my authorities have told you have to do a calling seva, now if I am not into preaching seva or any other seva, 24 hours I am tormented by my anarthas. But gradually what will start happening is, my anarthas will not start torment me that much, because at least for 1 hour, if I have to call 10-15 people, at least I have to speak with them for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I'll ask them, how are you doing? Last month you didn't come for this festival, that festival. So for that much of time, at least I'm getting relief from my anarthas. So gradually, when you expand your services and your absorption in that services, these anarthas you will not see. They'll gradually disappear, because your thinking, your object of thinking has now turned from I to others. That is where you forget. Why a mother doesn't feel pain? Is it so that a mother doesn't feel pain? No. Her total absorption is in the child. That absorption doesn't allow her to feel the pain. And same process we have to apply in our devotion. From me, I have picture. If my struggle, my Guru Maharaj says this, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, he's one senior Grahastha disciple asked him, Maharaj, so much of struggle in chanting, so many things come up, pop up, what to do? Maharaj, Guru Maharaj said, if you are chanting like this in a struggling phase, is giving happiness to Krishna, and if Krishna wants you to struggle, that is the success of your chanting. You keep chanting this lifelong, and that will take you back to God. So the entire thing is, stop focusing on oneself and take some higher engagement and absorb in that engagement, then all the anarthas will easily be not seen, even if they are there. They're always in the form of waves. They keep coming and going, coming and going. Agama apaino nitya tam stitiksha suvartha. What else can you do? Tolerate. So what is the better way of tolerating? Higher engagement.
Wow, Hari Bol Prabhuji, thank you so much for the beautiful answer. Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Should we end the class, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you
Hare
so much.
Dandavat Pranam. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Done.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very, very beautiful class. Thank you so much for reminding the story of Bhartuhari Nath. It's very nice to hear. Yeah, I used to hear in childhood, Prabhuji.
Yeah, yes, Mataji.
nice.
All glories to you. Thank you for engaging us in service. Thank you for taking such nice care.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so
You
much.
have given your life. Why are you saying thank to me?
It is for service of devotees.
Yeah, thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
So
Thank you
Prabhuji,
so much.
I missed the point. Even I have forgetfulness, so I keep forgetting. So who was the Vrindavan Das Thakur in Krishna Lila?
He is Vyasdev, Mataji. Vyasdev incarnates in Chaitanya Leela as
Yeah.
Vrindavan Das Thakur.
So he
And
has
there is one,
Chaitanya Bhagavat, right?
yes, Mataji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, once again for the beautiful class. If there are no more questions, we can end the call here. Vancha kalpatarobhyasya kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Aarti ki jai. Shri Sukumar Gaura Prabhuji ki jai. Thank you
Jai.
once again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the beautiful class.
Koti Koti
Hare
Dandavad
Krishna.
Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you for the
Prabhuji. Very
wonderful
nice
class,
class. Thank
Prabhuji.
you
Hare
so
Krishna.
much. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the beautiful class. Hare Krishna. Dandavad.